Why are you the first one? My mother suddenly glared at me and blurted out. I was so shocked that I was speechless. I wanted children myself, and thought that my mother would be happy if she had her first grandchild. However, she adored my older sister Allison, and seemed displeased that I was pregnant before her. Glaring at my belly, my mother made a shocking statement. I wanted Allison's child to be my first grandchild. My name is Heather. I am a 25-year-old housewife. I have an older sister named Allison who is 2 years older than me. We were close in age and had fun playing together as children. Our father cared deeply for both of us, and I was happy. Except I've never really had a proper conversation with my mother. She adored Allison, who was more beautiful, and treated me coldly. In the neighborhood, my mother was known as a beautiful woman, and Allison was born looking much more like her. So she was the only one my mother cherished. Also, as the eldest daughter, Allison had many new clothes. My mother bought cute clothes for her and enjoyed dressing her up like a doll, saying, "Of course, everything looks cute on Allison because she resembles me." I would watch this, and when Allison wasn't around, I'd beg my mother, "I want what Allison is wearing." But she would reply, "What are you talking about? What Allison wears doesn't suit you. For you, maybe this would be better?" And she would give me plain t-shirts and skinny jeans. When I was younger and more interested in cute things, I often cried. Then my mother would say, "If you're going to cry, just leave," so I forced myself to stop crying. Since then, I never asked my mother for anything I wanted. I had always wanted to try wearing skirts and lacy clothes like Allison. She didn't understand the situation and would say, "Heather, you're so stylish in those skinny jeans, I'm really envious." Which made me happy and quickly improved my mood. Since I never complained about our mother to Allison, she apparently thought I liked simple clothes. However, occasionally, Allison would say, "Come here. Can I put together an outfit that shows off your style?" When I followed her, she would let me wear her own clothes. "I think this suits you too," she would say, enjoying it very much, which made me happy. Our mother gave Allison plenty of snacks and cakes, but never bought any for me. I had strict dietary restrictions, so I was always slim. I was never praised for my looks, so having a good figure was my only pride. I tried to maintain a healthy lifestyle and keep my figure to gain my mother's praise. But she never looked my way. I had complained to my father and Allison a few times, but I was young and couldn't explain my situation well. So it never fundamentally solved anything. "I want to be treated the same as Allison," I would say, and my father, perplexed, would split snacks between us. Allison also put together outfits for me a few times, but we couldn't go out because the sizes were different. But this was only temporary, and my mother's treatment of me never changed. If anything, she would yell furiously when we were alone. She wanted to be a good mother and family in front of Allison and my father, treating me with care too. But she would say, any mother would naturally love the child she first suffered to give birth to. And I forced myself to accept it. However, as I entered middle school and high school, I realized from conversations with others that my situation was not normal. I was not happy at home, especially when alone with my mother. So I actively participated in club activities. My social circle expanded, and I made friends to hang out with on days off. I was stunned by my friends' stylish clothes as I had only seen them in uniforms. "Look at these clothes and bag my mom bought me the other day. Aren't they cute?" my friends would say with a smile. At first, I felt sad, but after confiding in a concerned friend, she said, "Heather, your mom is mean. That's terrible." It was the first time I realized something was wrong. Seeing my distress, my friend said, "Well, look forward to your birthday present." And she gave me a lovely makeup set. It became a precious memory I would never forget. And from that moment, I decided to distance myself from my mother. Although it was early winter of my freshman year, I told my family I would leave home as soon as I graduated from high school. My mother said, "Do you think life will go well with just a high school diploma? Well, fine. I'll send Allison to a good university and spend a lot of money on her." I vowed to become independent whenever I felt like giving up. I remembered her unpleasant words, and they motivated me. Even though I wasn't beautiful, I was recognized at my company, which was truly fulfilling. And thankfully, I met my current husband at work. He listened to everything about my family and my mother without a frown and accepted all of me. Then my father and Allison fully supported us, and we got married. My mother, who always put on a good front, didn't oppose it at the time and agreed. Later, when I became pregnant, I was very happy. But I hesitated about telling my family. I thought my mother would be indifferent even if I told her. But maybe she would dote on her grandchild. I hoped this could lead to a better mother-daughter relationship. After much deliberation, I gathered the courage to tell my family. I was nervous to do it alone, so my husband and sister-in-law came with me. And we rang the doorbell of my parents' house. Hello. Allison was the first to appear. Heather. It's been a while. Have you been well? Dad just went out. He should be back soon, so come in. Allison greeted me cheerfully as she used to, kindly welcoming my husband and sister-in-law and escorting us to the living room. On the other hand, my mother's expression stiffened when she saw me. But she put on a forced smile once she saw my husband and sister-in-law. I did not miss the change in her expression. My mother, who always cares about appearances, played the role of a good mother in front of them. Thank you so much for coming all this way. Here, please share this with Heather. She handed a gift to my husband. I glanced inside the bag. Although I dislike sweets, it was filled with sweet snacks and food. When we last visited to announce our marriage, my husband had mentioned he liked sweets, and it seemed my mother remembered that. She told him to share that with me, yet there was nothing I could eat. It was the same as always, but it no longer bothered me. My mother then exaggeratedly exclaimed, "Oh. My bad. Heather, you don't like sweets, do you?" Sorry. But when you live together, you end up tolerating such things, right? She laughed and said this to my husband. Hearing this, I was sure she knew and had intentionally filled the bag with sweets. My husband quickly responded, "For me, it's more important who I eat with than what I eat. Even if Heather and I eat different things, it's a lot of fun." My mother just replied, "Is that so?" and sat down. Once everyone was seated, I made my announcement. The reason I came back home today is that I have something to tell you. That is, I'm pregnant. Despite it being good news, I unconsciously closed my eyes. Open your eyes, Heather. When I did, Allison said loudly, "That's wonderful. Congratulations," and she began to tear up with joy. My mother, although surprised, managed to say, "Congratulations." In front of my husband and sister-in-law, she pretended to be happy. But her eyes were not smiling. I tried to avoid looking at my mother as much as possible and continued talking with Allison. Have you had any troubles since getting pregnant? If you need anything, just let me know, and I'll come right over. Allison offered thoughtfully. Thanks to her, I gradually relaxed, and as it was around lunchtime, I became hungry. I wanted to stay a bit longer, but we decided to leave to have lunch. Then Allison said, "Wait a moment," and ran to the kitchen, quickly preparing a feast. "This is my gift to you. You looked hungry, so please eat this if you'd like." She served us generously. The lavish homemade meal was something I hadn't had in a long time, and I ate more than I expected. Everything is delicious. Thank you. I told Allison, and she replied, "It's a big celebration for my beloved sister's pregnancy." My mother, as usual, praised, "Allison is good at cooking. She'll make a great wife." My sister-in-law, hearing this, said, "I see. Both sisters are great cooks. Heather's cooking is also very delicious." I enjoyed Allison's cooking without worrying about my mother. After a while, my husband excused himself to go to the restroom, and then stepped outside to check his work phone. My sister-in-law asked, "Heather, do you need to use the restroom?" But I was fine and urged her to go ahead. Allison also left to get some coffee. Left alone with my mother, it was awkward, but I kept my composure. Once she confirmed we were alone, my mother's expression turned harsh. And she muttered, "Why did you get pregnant before Allison?" Shocked, I was speechless. The next moment, my mother said, I wanted Allison's child to be my first grandchild. And kicked me hard in the stomach. Ouch. That hurts. Unable to contain myself, I screamed in pain and shock. My husband rushed over, asking, Heather? Are you okay? But I was curled up in pain and couldn't respond properly. Then, my sister-in-law said, This is worrying. Let's call an ambulance, and quickly arranged for one. Thank you both. I managed to say, and they confronted my mother about what happened. My mother, trying to lighten the mood, responded, Oh, calm down, both of you. Are you saying I did something? She's just clumsy, and suddenly stood up, hitting herself hard against the dresser. My anger surged against my mother's attempt to deflect blame. But I was in too much pain to speak. I wanted to say it was impossible for me to have hit my stomach against the dresser by being clumsy, but I could only curl up. At that moment, Allison stormed into the room, grabbed my mother by the collar, and said, Mom, I saw everything. You kicked Heather's stomach, didn't you? This was the first time I saw Allison so angry. She confronted our mother with fierce intensity, and everyone in the room froze, including my mother, who was caught in the act. Allison looked at me and said, Heather, I'm truly sorry. I was carrying coffee, so I was late to come to you. I saw Mom's reaction because the two of them reached you so quickly, and then, Mom, you were just lying. I won't forgive you. I saw you kick Heather's stomach. While still holding on to our mother, Allison confronted her. Despite everything, our mother still tried to feign innocence. Really, Allison has always been prone to exaggeration once she gets going. There's no way I would do such a thing. Besides, there's no proof, right? In response to our mother's words, I mustered the last of my strength to say, Mom kicked my stomach. Hearing this, Allison shook our mother and accused her. Heather and the baby were in danger. What would you have done if something had happened? Confused by the argument between Allison and our mother, I was grateful for Allison's support. At that moment, sharp pains shot through my abdomen, and as I murmured in pain, It hurts, Allison, startled, quickly let go of our mother and rushed to support me. The ambulance arrived, and I was taken to the hospital. I had to be hospitalized immediately due to a fracture. But fortunately, both the baby and I were safe. Allison accompanied me in the ambulance and stayed by my side. My sister-in-law and husband came to visit later, relieved that we were safe, and cried with joy. I'll come every day because I'm worried. Allison said that. During my stay in the hospital, the three of them visited daily, and we spent enjoyable times together. My father eventually learned of my mother's misdeeds, and he contacted me to make sure we were safe. Later, he forcibly brought our mother to the hospital, where she continued to claim, I didn't do it. They just want to gang up on me and set me up. However, the doctor explained that the injury to my abdomen was not from a bump, but from a strong external force, consistent with being kicked by someone. My father then said, as a mother, and as a person, I'm disappointed in you, and our mother finally apologized to me. However, it was clear she wasn't truly remorseful, just apologizing because she had to. After being discharged, I decided to tell my father and Allison everything about how our mother had treated me. Her actions were not just verbal taunts, but also hidden from my father and Allison, so they had no way of knowing. I told them about things I had never been able to say before. I'm sorry for not seeing it all these years, even though I was the closest. Everything Mom told me about what Heather likes was all lies. The clothes and everything, Allison said, visibly upset. My father also apologized profoundly. I failed as a parent. Heather, I'm truly sorry. From now on, please rely on us without hesitation. I hurriedly helped him up. Dad, Allison, you two have always cared for me. Just knowing that makes me happy, and we hugged each other while crying. Afterward, Allison and my father cut ties with our mother and suggested that I report her to the police. Hearing this, my mother pleaded with me in tears. Please don't involve the police. I'll apologize as much as it takes, please forgive me. You're the only one who can persuade them now. But I knew she only wanted to avoid being separated from her husband and Allison. Her apology lacked any real remorse, only trying to avoid the consequences. When I firmly declined, my mother lashed out, "Have you forgotten all I've done for you? Don't get cocky just because you're ugly and clumsy." My father and husband had to restrain her as she tried to attack me. My husband declared, "No matter what you do, we will protect Heather." Unable to handle the situation where the once scorned Heather was now protected by those around her, our mother broke down crying. "Why did you even give birth to me if you only care about Allison?" Despite my long-held questions, all my mother did was cry about being deceived by an ungrateful daughter. Convinced that nothing would be resolved this way, I went to the police. Initially, they hesitated, suggesting, "This is a family matter, please handle it yourselves." But when I returned with a lawyer, the process went smoothly. In the end, my mother was arrested and left penniless after being kicked out of the family home. My father completed the divorce proceedings and sold the family home to ensure she couldn't return. Just before moving, my father, Allison, and I spent some final moments together in the house, reminiscing about our memories there. I haven't told my mother where I now live. So my father and Allison moved into the neighborhood where my husband and I live. After my mother returned and found the family home empty, she bombarded me with calls. I set my phone to voicemail and listened to the messages later. In a panicked voice, my mother said, "Are you satisfied now that I've been arrested? How far do you intend to push me? You don't need to take everything away. I'll find you, so be prepared." Feeling genuinely threatened, I changed my number. A peaceful daily life returned, and with the support of my loved ones, I was able to give birth stress-free. The whole family was present for the birth of a healthy child. "You did great, Heather," everyone rejoiced as the baby cried for the first time. Despite the difficulties with my mother, I felt truly blessed to have my caring father, Allison, husband, and sister-in-law. Now with another precious family member, our lives would only become more joyful. I vowed to give this child all the maternal love I never received. "Heather, you should hold the baby first." Encouraged by Allison, I held my child for the first time. Surrounded by my loved ones, I felt blessed as the baby slept peacefully. I resolved to continue striving as a mother to maintain this happy life.